Certain viewpoints may not reflect those of our partners, sponsors, affiliates, our hosts, or that of our guests. We would like to encourage everybody to keep a respectful and open climate of discussion for all topics, no matter how disturbing they may be. So viewer discretion is advised.
You know this world has gone insane. It is absolutely no secret. But tonight, Saturday night, you are about to experience the true measures of what that insanity can bring you. Tonight, you are about to see Ball and Bonkers, the one-of-a-kind show that delves deep into the world with no holds barred. Now, meet your hosts, Dakota Franson, specialist of the strange, and Christopher Mule, the UFO fanatic. Now, give it up, and let's see what these two idiots can bring you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Bald and Bonkers. I am Bigfoot and Dogman. That idiot over there is Christopher Mole. Hey, we have Lance Hightower joining us to discuss some of his experience involving the Bigfoot and the Dogman, because, quite frankly, we don't do enough cryptids on this show.
We don't. We need to do more. We really do need to do more. I mean, we talk about Bigfoot quite a lot, but I would like to go more into the Dogman, and I would like to learn more. So I'd like to welcome you, Lance. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
so we might as well just dive into the deep end here. How did you get into this? How did you get into this kind of field?
Well, you know, it's always interesting, I'm sure, how someone gets involved. Really, I've always had a fascination with Bigfoot, which will kind of lead into the Dogman. My brother, you know, we had experiences as a kid. I had an experience when I was about 9 or 10 years old out in eastern Oklahoma, where I now live. And, you know, it's just one of those things that you just kind of tuck it in the back of your mind and you just go on with life and you move on. Fast forward to, we hunt a lot, obviously, with the guns in the background. Yes. We hunt, fish, and trap and hike and camp all the time. And my brothers and I were having some really strange experiences when we would have an annual deer camp in southeast Oklahoma. But it really wasn't till about 2003 when my brother Lane had an up-close encounter with a Bigfoot, him and a friend. In fact, it chased the truck. It really, plainly put, it really freaked him out. It scared the hell out of him. The friend didn't want to talk about it, but my brother Lane was hanging out. He was the passenger, and I'm going to show you. He was hanging out the passenger window like this with a gun in his hand and a flashlight like this as the truck was moving, and he didn't know whether to shoot or not. The guy was squirrely trying to get down this dirt road, and my brother was out there, and he had this light, and this thing was running, trying to reach for the bed of the truck. So my brother took about 2 years to tell us that story, and when he did, I couldn't hear enough of it. He never changed the story one bit over years and years and years. And he was in high school at that time. Then again, fast forward about 2015, the same brother, Lane, said, hey, you need to listen to a YouTube channel. They're talking about things that we kind of talk about, and but these are like true accounts of things that are going on. So my midlife crisis at 50 years old wasn't a sports car. It was actually, I didn't know really a lot about computers, but I wanted to create a podcast show, and for my brothers and I to kind of verbalize and kind of like therapy for us, because we had all these interesting experiences. And I thought, well, this would be a good way to kind of chit chat, talk about it. So I spent some time at looking at some shows that were out there, which I there's some, and they're still out. Some are still out there. And so I spent some time in learning how to create a podcast show. I started it for like $40. My phone was actually broke. The speaker didn't work. So I bought a $40 Bluetooth, and all I had was a little digital Sony recorder. And that's how I got started with the first 6 episodes. So anyway, it was about us talking about our experiences. And then I put a toll-free number on there, and then it just exploded from there.
Yes.
After about the first year, I started getting a lot of calls about this Dogman type creature. And what was really interesting is the majority of them, at that time, we were Cryptid Brothers Investigations of Oklahoma is when we started out the channel.
Yeah.
So it was likely we got a lot of calls in from Oklahoma. I was probably every third call was about this massive canine-like creature walking on 2 legs that was shaped that looked like a werewolf. Then we interviewed a guy named Wiley Dave Fritz, and he had already been on a couple podcast shows, but I didn't realize he was right out of Tulsa. At that time, I lived in Tulsa. I'm about an hour west now. And we had good conversation. I said, well, let's meet. Let's talk about things, about your experience. And the more I found out about his experience, the more fascinated I became about this creature. So that was about in 2017. So since then, we have dedicated an extreme amount of time, lots and lots of time in the field, questioning people, interviewing people. And we're kind of in that process now of developing some interesting gadgets to try our goal. Our goal is to, since the footage that is presently out there in this Dogman, this genre, if you will, is very fuzzy, very ill-defined sometimes. They're very, we're finding out they have such a self-awareness and intelligence of consciousness that they'll evade the human eye. So we're trying to work with equipment that our goal is to get very clear HD video and picture of these creatures. But it's more challenging than what we thought. So that kind of led into this whole genre. I've now interviewed probably over 1,500 people, and out of 1,500 plus people, and in 5 years, a good 40 to 50% have been this Dogman type creature.
It's very interesting, the Dogman. I mean, I've learned a lot about Bigfoot. There's actually a guy in the chat right now who's called Mike the Naked Bigfoot, and he's had a lot of Bigfoot encounters. But the Dogman's always really interested me. I mean, how big would you say the Dogman actually is? How big? Like taller than a human?
It's varied. We saw 3, maybe 4 at about 250 yards, 275. We knew that it was different what we were looking at. The scopes we use are a military grade scope with a mil-dot reticle. So at a distance, you can dope it in and you can see your relative height and width. And we knew the ryegrass in this blue stem area in Oklahoma, which is a natural wild grass, where we were walking, it was about to our waist. So it extended down into this valley area, and it was relatively open in this bottom, and then it hit a tree line, and we saw movement. And this was in western Oklahoma, by the way. This wasn't here where I live, although there's been many sightings where I live right now. But this was in western Oklahoma, out on what they call the Panhandle. And we could tell it was about 250, 275 on yardage, and we were actually in the mode of hunting coyotes. We had been hunting that morning, and this was about winter time, somewhere about 4 o'clock, which the sun starts to set quite about that time to 5 o'clock. And we caught movement. I caught black movement, and then we scoped it in, and there was about 3, possibly 4. And we could tell that there was one walking around that was kind of a gray color, that the stomach area was as high as my waist area. So we estimated that one was probably right at about the size that Wiley saw, which is about 500 pounds, 550 pounds. Now, there's been occasions where people have seen these creatures they estimated 250 pounds. Now, these are people, eyewitnesses, that when I do a little bit of background check of who they are, where they grew up, these are people typically that live in the countryside.
Yeah.
They have cattle, they have sheep, they have horses, they have calves. So they know relative sizes of livestock and their animals. So when they have closer encounters, much closer than I had, and I'll always say, what's the estimation? They'll say anywhere over the years, it's been 250 pounds on up to 800 pounds. So I think it varies per region of the country. It varies per what the main food availability is. I think obviously the more protein you can have, there's an unlimited size, I'm sure, based on the genetics and again, the region and breeding and everything else.
Would you say they target farms for the cows, the cattle?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple places that are cattle ranches or livestock ranches in which that's just basically where cattlemen and farmers bring in their livestock to fatten up.
Yeah.
And then they'll take them off to the sale. Well, there's plenty of these places in Oklahoma, but also very, very numerous in Texas. And one of the places in Texas, I had a young man was pretty smart about this. He knew that he'd been paying attention. There was a lot of pets missing. And he noticed that around the same time every day that there was like this evening bark that started around the town, and he could hear this bark. It was always about the same time. And so he postulated that there's got to be something on the prowl taking these pets. So him and a buddy formulated a plan, and he says, you know what? I think I know where this thing's living. So of all places, he goes down into this ravine off the side of a public golf course. Right. And he did his homework. Now, mind you, not too far away is a very, very, very large cattle operation.
Right.
Very large, with thousands of cattle. And in cattle operations, maybe like sheep operations, I can only think possibly that you're going to have cattle die naturally for whatever reasons. And so when they die, they call them carcasses. And when they're living, they're just livestock. So every day they do a livestock count, and he's got a brother-in-law that worked at this place. And they notice that when someone goes through in the morning and does a count on the carcasses, they'll say, well, we got 15 carcasses you guys need to pick up. So his brother was one of those guys that was picking up the carcasses, and they'd load them up with a crane and put them in a truck.
Yeah. But
they noticed when he was going around that they'd only get like 8 or 9. He said, I thought you guys said there was 15. And this happened about frequently. So getting back to the first guy, he went down in this ravine, and he thought, okay, they're taking pets and there's something out there taking carcasses. Me and this guy are going to hunt this thing down. So he had a firearm pretty much like that one back there on the wall, except it had a drum, not a magazine. He had a drum, and
that's what I'm talking.
Scene from Predator.
Yes. So he told his buddy, he said, I want you to get up on the high ground. And he had a walkie-talkie. He says, when I say when, I want you to throw rocks in this bottom, but don't hit me. Throw them out in front. So he got down this bottom, and his friend was up top. And he said, go ahead, start throwing. So he's throwing these rocks off down in this. And they did it early, not at the typical hour that they would hear the dogs bark. They did it an hour ahead of time. So whatever it was bedding down, they would catch in the bedding. So he said, go ahead and throw the rocks. So he started throwing the rocks. And when he threw the rocks, he saw something get up and rustling through the bushes. So he got ready, and he was in this open area, and the wind was in his favor, which was important here.
Yes.
And so this thing, he said, it got up, it was black, and it was just kind of sleeking through these saplings about so big and this undergrowth. And then it came out right where he was at, and he had his firearm right at it. He said he thought he was going to see a panther, like a large cat. But what he was staring at eye to eye, he said he's 5'8". He's 5'8". Wow. And what he was staring at eye to eye was this canine wolf-like, werewolf-like creature. It had massive amber eyes, about so far apart. He said its ears were pointed, and it was all black, and it had the most piercing amber, deep amber eyes you can. They're mesmerizing, and it just. He was only like 15 feet away, something like that. 15, 20, 15 yards possibly is what he said. I think it was about 15. He said, right out in the open, there he is. He's staring at this thing. And what was really interesting, I said, well, what happened? He said, this thing I could tell was thinking. It was looking at my gun. It was looking at me, and it was looking around. It was looking at me. I was looking at my gun, looking up and down. He said, I could tell it was thinking. And I said, did its ears lay back like it was going to charge? He said, no. It looked at me like it had these eyes like, you got me. You got me. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and shoot. You got me. You got me. And so he had his gun up, and it did not seem to be aggressive. So he just started letting his gun down slowly. And as he let the gun down, it started to back up, and then it turned and just walked off.
That is very interesting. I mean, that is actually that's scary.
While he was upright on all fours, it was and he has 4.
I think we're having some internet issues here. Yeah, you're breaking up, Lance. You're breaking up slightly for us. Go outside and check there's no a strange creature jumping up and down the top of your roof or something like that. That is strange. See how his internet just dropped like that?
Yeah, this is nice and frozen too. But he also just goes to prove a point. Why isn't there any bodies if these things exist? The second you see these things, you're not going to know what to think.
That's what I'm thinking too. I mean, it shows you the intelligence of these things. It shows you these animals, or whatever they are, have been among us before. Oh, there
I think he's
again.
Back.
Before he's joining. Oh, he's back again.
Yeah, I just saw that. Oh.
Yeah, them.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened.
It always happens on this show. No problem.
It always happens. It always happens, lads.
Yeah, right as we're getting into the good stuff.
Yeah, I know it's weird. It's quite interesting because we've just got to say that how intelligent it must be to think it's itself, because it could have come back for that guy. If you really think about it, it could have come back for him.
It could have, and I think that was the first time I'd heard such a close encounter in which it almost knew it was in a situation that if it tried anything, it was gonna have some harm done to it. Yeah. And so it was intelligent enough to not lunge at him, but it just stayed put. And it had this, as this guy actually said, it almost had this sorrowful look about it. Like if it could talk, it was almost like, you got me. I don't know. You just go ahead and pull the trigger.
But it makes you wonder. Maybe obviously it can't talk, but it makes you wonder, could it understand humans? Because if they've been living among us so long, they might have picked up. It's actually frightening. I'm going to be looking over my shoulder now when I'm in the woods, and I don't have a gun. Dakota, would you like to go?
No, I was about to say, I can't help but wonder, is this a situation where a lot of canines, from the typical house dog to even some species of wolves and coyotes that have been in captivity, is it a situation where they're one of the few species that know how to read humans, or is it something where a buddy of it got caught and it knew that, oh shit, I'm done for?
Well, yeah, I think, I mean, that's one of on the podcast show. I think that's one of the many things that's debated a lot, and I not only debated but just spoken about quite a few times, because it's a very interesting topic which can lead into other topics. I this is kind of where for me personally, this may not be for everyone else, but for me personally, in studying this, I believe that these creatures, because of how they move, how they have this ability of what we call self-awareness or consciousness, how they can hunt, I do believe they have a language. See, all animals have a language, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I mean by that, it's coyotes, for instance, have a language. It's barking. Certain barks mean certain things. Just like dogs. A dog will bark many different ways, and you know if they're hungry, are they mad, are they happy, is someone at the door, all those things, right? So they do have a language. But for me personally, I believe that these creatures have some association because of their ability, their supernatural intelligence, supernatural strength, and supernatural size. I believe it falls underneath more of a biblical association, personally, with me, as well as the Bigfoot. Now, if you want to get into the beast and the Gibor and the Nephilim, things like that, I do believe there's somewhere in that they fit. That's how what I believe. Now, I know a lot of people may not, but that's kind of how I understand it, just because they're so intelligent that it's totally different than, say, a Malinois dog that's trained by police. Those are very smart dogs, and there's a lot of smart dogs out there, but this is something different. This can withhold its attack on you. It's observing you. It's analyzing you. It's almost seeing where your weaknesses are at.
Yes.
Do you have a gun? It may not know what a gun per se is, but it knows that can hurt me. They may not know what, say, a knife is, but they know that blade can hurt me. So that is something that it's a whole nother level of awareness or consciousness in my mind that these creatures possess.
I think you're right. I think there is an element of supernatural abilities in them. I do think it's the same with Bigfoot. There's things that Bigfoot can do that is very strange. What's your thoughts on this, Dakota?
It actually kind of reminds me, there's a gentleman I was talking to. I would get him on the show, but working around his work schedule is a bit of it. One of his theories was that the Dogman, and I would actually like to get your thoughts on this, Lance, but the Dogman may actually have some sort of ties to the Egyptian god Anubis due to some of the sightings around like graveyards and things like that.
Yeah, that gets into some conversation, actually, my brother Bill and I had this week. We watch a lot of different... I think to understand these creatures, you can't just think linear. There's, you can watch all these podcast shows and you'll learn quite a bit. But I think you need to go outside and learn about different things in order to kind of tie everything in. And what I mean by that is that it's very interesting how I just played a show on my podcast that had a young man at a cemetery, a gravesite, and that there tends to be an association or a harboring of these creatures in and around those areas. So initially you could say, oh, evil begets evil, and all this. But really, I think if you get down to it, I think there is if you get to why they're maybe gravitating to these areas, it has to do with energy levels. When things are at a lower vibration, lower energy level, or a lower conscious level, it tends to be associated more with bad feelings, sorrow, evil, satanistic type of satanic type of evil, and just a lower vibration frequency. Whereas higher vibrational frequencies tend to be associated with happiness, positive outlook, feeling good. Classical music is a very high level vibrational frequency. So this is why actually studies have shown that plants and people feel better around classical music.
Yes.
It's just a good energy for the soul, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think there's some association with these creatures and lower vibrational where they tend to hang out in these areas. I'm not saying all cemeteries are that way, by the way. I'm just saying that maybe certain ones are and many others are not. I mean, that's kind of how I understand it.
I mean, here I'm thinking about something here. I mean, do you think there's any similarities with the skinwalkers?
Yes, I do. I believe that the skinwalkers, or whether you're talking about other type of the way I understand a skinwalker, and this is just me, is almost like a spiritual energy that can manifest in the physical and then go back into the spiritual.
Yes.
And I know when people hear this, it's going to be like, well, way out there, Lance.
No.
It was for me.
You don't know us.
You don't know us.
It was for me. Trust me, it was for me, and I understand. But no, it's really not, because when you understand consciousness, and I don't mean being awake. This is a whole nother level of consciousness of energy that it can manifest in the physical. So can it come in and out of this physical into the spiritual and change and morph? It can, actually. And it's pretty scary to think about that, but it can. And in fact, the natives in Oklahoma and in many other places across the United States, you don't say that word at night. You don't even say the word, because in their culture, in their tribe with their elders, if you say that word, therefore it will manifest in the physical in your in appearance to you and in your premises, and you don't want that. So they don't use that word. Some are allowed to use it in the daytime only, not at night. Others just no, I don't want to talk about it. Don't even think about trying to hitch a ride in certain parts of the United States, in these areas of Utah, on these reservation areas, because you may be a skinwalker, and they're dead serious.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, these creatures. What's your thoughts on the creatures themselves? Do you think they're maybe interdimensional? Like some people think that Bigfoot's an interdimensional being.
That is a great question. I haven't really put my finger on that yet. If you look at them, they're a very primitive, archaic looking nomadic being, a very highly intelligent being that has a self-awareness much more intelligent than what we thought. They're definitely more intelligent than us when we get into the woods. We have to wear camo hats, spray scents. We have to wear, all this Gore-Tex to keep warm when we're out there freezing our tail off deer hunting. They are naturally adapted to fit perfectly into their environment naturally. And they can hide like a ninja. So I haven't put my finger on it yet, but I would say I do think that there is a level of, I'm going to use that word again, consciousness. That they can use this to gain insight into us. In other words, this guy is scared. He's scared. I can sense it. So I'm going to frighten him away from the property even more. He doesn't need to be here. He's too close to me. So they'll come out and reveal themselves. I do think that they can feel the vibrational energy off of you. And in fact,
and I think we're
there's
about to
clothing that can prevent that. Believe it or not, it's hunting clothing for deer, but some guys are using it for investigation out in the field. But I didn't ask
You're breaking up, Lance. I'm afraid you're breaking
Answer
up.
Question, because that's a hard one. I haven't really concluded that, but it's
Dakota, what's your thoughts? Before his interview.
It's possible.
I do want to get back to what when we had Jeff Meldrum on, the university professor from ISU, or better known as the Bigfoot professor. It does not take much for animals to outsmart a human. Any hunter who's been out in the field would verify that.
I think he's lost his. Can you hear his, Lance?
Well, his audio was coming through like a bad Japanese dub.
Yeah, you keep breaking up. You keep breaking up for his, Lance, I'm afraid. Yep.
It's like his video's going, then all of a sudden you start hearing what he's saying. Like it's a bad Japanese dub, like an old Godzilla movie.
If you leave and then come back in again, maybe that'll help your connection. Strange things are afoot, Dakota. See, this always happens to us, isn't it?
See, once again, we're getting right down into the good stuff, and something happens.
I heard. Are you with me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but
maybe
you're slightly with us, but you're breaking up awful.
I heard about Jeff Meldrum, and that's all I heard.
Yeah, it's your. I think you're having internet issues. It's Mike the Naked Bigfoot in the chat says you just got the naked
say that
Bigfoot
one again.
It's your internet's breaking up. Can you leave and then rejoin again, and that'll refresh it for us?
Yeah, that's really bizarre. This is really interesting. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can, but I'm also kind of sitting on standby. Like, okay, when are we going to lose this guy?
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, you're just breaking up for us. You're like 5 seconds behind. Then it's weird, very weird.
This is frustrating.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it also happens a lot to us.
It does happen a lot. We always get a very interesting guest on like yourself. This always happens. It's as if he's just froze.
Like I said, he's coming in and out like a bad Godzilla movie right now.
Yeah. Maybe if you leave, Lance, and then come back in again.
Leave it to you to keep.
I think there's the naked Bigfoot. The curse strikes again.
Chris, try typing something into the.
I'm sorry, guys, I can't hear you.
Try typing something. Do like I did with the link. Never mind.
That's crazy. That
protocol. If we start making it to where it looks like nobody can hear each other, let's utilize the chat like we did with Elena.
Yeah. He'll be back in the new. We'll just need to get Mike, put that thing back in the box. We know you're playing with it.
Anyway, as I was saying, I'll just go on with the point I was trying to make before we had system interruptions. People don't realize it does not take much to outsmart a hunter.
No.
And Lance could probably verify this. And I was referencing the Jeff Meldrum episode where he was talking about, you have a set of hunters in a 10 square mile radius where they say nothing, but yet GPS tracker says there's a nice big herd of deer that they all just missed that was just hiding in the bush trying to stay out of the heat.
Yeah. It's happened to me. I've been out a walk in the woods.
Got a couple of shrunken heads sitting out. Mike! Earth the Lance. Come in, Lance.
Can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you. Yep. No picture. Oh, there we go.
No.
Okay.
All right. I love how everybody's just at a standstill. Like, is this thing gonna work?
Is this going to work? Can you hear us okay, Lance? Nope, we're having problems again.
And they wonder why people think that the government's trying to hide you.
This is so weird. Every time
movement is shaky.
That's so weird.
Yeah, there was a couple podcast shows that this actually, I can't say one way or the other, but it was very strange how certain people were being taken off
Yeah.
Stream.
It's happened to us.
And they never, this one podcaster had never had.
Yeah. Welcome.
Before like that, people were just being erased, taken off. And she had never had that. It was kind of bizarre. But anyway, that it doesn't surprise me. And that's a whole nother.
That is weird. If you're listening to this in the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, having internet issues, it's always the same when we get a very interesting guest on. It's as if people just don't want the knowledge getting out there, which is a shame. And it's sad, you know.
Hit and miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to try that.
I think, you know, this always happens if we talk about ghosts or we talk about poltergeists or demons or stuff like that.
I can't hear any.
Yeah, I think StreamYards is having problems.
Lordy.
It's always the same, you know.
There.
Really?
Dear God.
That's very interesting.
It always happens to us. I mean, it's crazy.
Usually when we get to the topic of aliens. But,
if we need to schedule another time, I don't mind.
You want to schedule another time and just keep talking about this tonight?
Yeah, we can reschedule to try to hopefully better internet by then.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Nope.
Yeah.
Put the frame rate down. Let me have a look.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me on the front porch when I was talking about a cemetery.
I put the frame rate down to try and help.
Yeah, and if you guys want, because I know Saturdays people are inundated on the internet sometimes, especially in my area. So if you want to do a weekday, that's fine.
Yep. Yep, we could do that, no problem.
Yeah, definitely.
We can do a weekday if you guys would prefer.
Sure. When works for you?
If it works out better for you.
Yep. Yeah, we can do that. We'll contact you. Thank you, by the way. We'll have to go and find the government that's doing that. You know, the joyful times.
Can you guys hear me?
You're breaking up really bad for us, Lance.
Okay. Yeah, we can reschedule.
Yeah.
If you would like, we can do it on a weekday if it works better.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
It's fine.
Oh, it happens, man. No worries.
It happens. It happens. It's okay. It just means you have to come back a second time. It's fine.
Well, we can do it a little bit later if you want on a weekday at night. I'm pretty flexible for you guys, so we can do it.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, no problem, man.
There you go. Right. Thank you anyway for coming, and we'll see you again. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, I'll go ahead and part out here, and then we'll just type and find out schedule.
Now, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. That's what happens when you talk about. I mean, you would wonder when he started tonight, his internet was absolutely fine.
Well, I don't want to completely jump down the supernatural rabbit hole. You know how I feel. Seems like everybody's trying to go for the Copperfield way. But yeah. Oklahoma does not exactly have the best internet, my understanding.
That's very true.
I hear. So you can't go completely. It's just I can't help but find it funny that right as we're getting into the good stuff, that's when we're starting to break up.
I noticed when he left and then come back in, his internet was perfect. And then when he started talking about the intelligence of them,
hold on.
It started to degrade really bad.
Let's see, he's about an hour ahead of us, so he roughly be the time everybody's starting to get off and go home from work. His time, so he's about an hour ahead of me.
So we've got about 20 minutes left of the show. Yeah. Do you want to jump in, Mike? We can invite Mike up.
I did actually see a question earlier in the chat. It seems like somebody actually never heard of a skinwalker before.
I seen that.
And so anyway, I'm not necessarily an expert. I've dealt with a skinwalker on one occasion, and it was one-off. Basically, the short version of it is, and if Mike wants to pop in, he could probably tell a lot more detail, but the generic version of it is that a skinwalker would be a type of shaman or witch doctor that practice dark magic in order to utilize animal-like abilities, or in some cultures, some tales, actually become what would look like a mix of a rock, basically of whatever animal it's trying to become with that has mange and a human. So they're very nasty, but
I'll add them in. Here we go.
Mike.
Let's see how long my feed lasts. Lance was really Lance was really cool. I was enjoying the conversation y'all were having.
So I like Mike. We got a question for you, Mike. What is a skinwalker for the person in the chat that doesn't know what a skinwalker is?
Okay. In my experience, talking to when I was allowed to talk to several medicine chiefs back in the day, I had an encounter with one myself. Skinwalkers is a broad term defining two different things. There's the Naogloshi, which is the divine being, which would come from the spirits to deliver information and wisdom to the tribes through the medicine chief. And then there are the semi-mortal descendants of the Naogloshi that had fallen, and they had had sex with various members of tribes, and the children that were born from this intercourse became what we know now today as the skinwalker. So the mortal semi-divine skinwalker.
Well, that's a lot more exotic than what I was under the impression of. Damn.
Yeah, the thing that most people see are the descendants of the original of the divine beings that had stepped down and had fallen from grace and succumbed to the temptations of the earthly world and had sex. Now Naogloshi could be male or female, so they could have had sex with a male and given birth to a child, or they could have appeared as a male and copulated with a female. and she would have given birth to a child. Either way, whatever mortal was on the end of it, whether it was male or female, they always died afterwards. So,
So what is your thoughts, Mike, on the Dogman? Because I bet you've got some.
there are, and I had a fascinating conversation not too long ago with a guy on YouTube about Dogmen. I mean, he's a huge Dogman fanatic. He loves him some Dogman. And I had an opportunity to talk to him about Dogman. We got into a really fun conversation that went all over the place. But what I essentially believe what a Dogman is, it's one or two things. A Dogman. And I've talked about it before, both on my show and other people's shows as well, that Dogmen, I think, are one or two things. They're either a descendant of a species that evolved alongside men, but they evolved in a spiritual sense alongside men, and they're able to shift between what we call a Dogman and an actual wolf. Right. And then there's the other theory that I had with Dogmen, which I believe that theory more than anything else.
Right. Well, I have a bad feeling.
Yeah, I really believe this, that there are a number of supernatural and paranormal races that came when the Europeans started emigrating to the New World, that they brought some of these paranormal predators with them. They followed their food source. They fed off of humanity, so they followed humanity to the New World. And one of the races, Germanic, that is Germanic in origins and Scandinavian in origins, because we never really heard too much about them. And the native tribes here in the United States didn't talk too much about them until after white settlers came from Europe to settle in America, because they brought them with them. And they can look like human beings. They can make themselves look human, quite human, as they would go out and feed upon mankind. And they're known as as Vargar, which is an old Germanic word for wolf. And the Vargar they're pack creatures. They exist in family units and packs. And they travel with their food sources. They go to small towns, live outside of small towns, or they'll even make up homes in big cities. So when they do go out and feed, and they do shift and make themselves look like these monstrous Dogmen, when they're feeding. Otherwise, when they're not feeding, they assume the form of a. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and a human being. I truly believe that they're a member of the pretending race. One of the pretending races, the Vargar. So, pretending meaning they pretend to look like us.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, as Mike, you are a knowledge of. You're like a big supercomputer in your brain.
That's why I can't wait for his fucking book to come out.
I know. I wish you had a time machine. I could go forward in time, get the book, and then come back to the now. You know.
Well, if I can pull it off, I'll put it in this Bald and Bonkers store. What the hell?
When I finally started hearing about those particular races, I was able to study a lot about them. There are a number of people who have written treatises on them. The people who usually wrote books concerning them would end up dead horribly in some way or another when they would write about these pretending races, because of course they don't want their secret to be out.
And now me, Dakota, you, and all the people in the chat are at risk now. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Well, no, they do. They live off of paranoia, fear, and superstition. Whenever they can encourage paranormal fear and superstition about them, people believe in them less, and they prefer that over anything else. Vargar are terribly, terribly intelligent, hideously intelligent. The Vargar races are. So.
Yeah. Do you know something? The next time we get our guest back on, we should have Mike here to ask some questions. You know,
that would make for one hell of a show.
That would be an awesome show.
No, it wouldn't. It would devolve into a conspiracy show. We'd be talking about all kinds of things. Because when I was talking about Dogman before, we actually started hypothesizing what they could be if they weren't these other things. And one of them was that we thought that they were experiments.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, they were experiments based on after World War II, when we went into Nazi Germany, that we collected all kinds of information, scientific information about their eugenics and crossbreeding experiments, trying to make super soldiers. And one of the things they did was trying to make wolf soldiers and cross animals with people to make animal soldiers, to make these super soldiers. And maybe our government brought that information back. And I mean, our government has done eugenics experiments here in the United States. I mean, we have the we have them where they went through a lot of the mountain country and hill country in different states, and they went through and they sterilized entire families so they wouldn't be able to breed for various and sundry reasons. We're a lot as a country a lot sneakier about it.
Oh yeah, we did an underground bunker like.
One of my thoughts was that maybe that was part of one of their experiments, and the descendants of those experiments are these dogmen that we see.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you just killed a joke that I had lined up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for our guest tonight, Lance, all the links are below, but we're going to get him back on.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to get Mike.
Lance is really cool. I like Lance.
I think Mike needs to help us interview him, because I think that would make it very
Mike and Lance coming together. We're never going to be able to complete that interview because
so you want me to
signal.
So you want me to crash the network, right?
Yeah. As long as you've not got the stone face or anything like that, it'll be absolutely fine. You're looking for. Oh man. Well, you're looking forward to tomorrow night, Mike.
Yeah, I hope we can make it through in one piece.
Yeah, well, I'm going to show you something that I downloaded nearly 26 photos, and I'm only going to show one of them right now. This place is super hot. I mean, my God, where's the one with the most? Where's that one with the?
Did you make sure to get the sex rate?
What do you mean about that? I thought you
make sure you get the orgy rooms that are in the catacombs. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Look at this.
Talk
Mike.
about
this
a boner.
Is a guy. This is a guy pushing a mining cart full of bones. Tomorrow night we're talking about this place.
Oh wow, I'm not surprised by that at all. The thing you should be asking, what did he do with the bones?
Yeah, right.
What do you mean, like?
Is it just me, or does it look like something is following that cart?
Could be.
Well, he stacked them. Look at that guy there. He stacked them up. He's done a bloody good job at it. That taken a while.
You have to remember, it was quite popular at one point, especially in Victorian times, where you would have a curiosity room where they actually displayed human remains and mummies and stuff, and people sold these body parts that they found. So he could be one of the salespeople,
I don't.
Could you imagine if The Greatest Showman was actually historically accurate to how fucked up in the head P.T. Barnum was?
Yeah. Oh, P.T. Barnum was a hot mess. The things that weren't fakes, he had actual stuff he went out and did. And actually some of the stuff he made by attaching dead body parts to each other and creating some of his favorite fakes that he did. P.T. Barnum is one of my favorite things to talk about. I love P.T. Barnum.
Got to do a P.T. Barnum show.
Barnum was amazing. He believed in the fantastic, but he believed in creating the fantastic as well. He was a fascinating individual, utterly fascinating. If we didn't have P.T. Barnum, we would have never had Zach Bagans. Boom! I just said it.
Very true. Oh, very true.
Zach Bagans, if you're watching this show, Zach Bagans, Mike the Naked Bigfoot wants to come and visit your museum. Could you please send him a couple of free tickets? He wants to talk to you in person and tell you all about what he thinks about your museum.
I had I thought about arson, but I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to get you guys in trouble.
You know we're still alive, right?
I didn't say it. I didn't say what was in my head. I kept it to myself.
See that picture I showed you there about the Paris catacombs? Can any of you see the face in it?
Bring it up.
Right, I'll bring it back. Right, look at the very top of on the roof, right above the cat.
There is something up there.
Oh yeah.
Well, look at the guy. Look at the guy's face that's hauling the remains too. I think he knows something's probably following him. How could you not?
Oh, down there, I can speak from experience that when you go down there, even if you're in a tour group, you feel the energy down there.
I personally think you and Mike should go down into the Paris catacombs, and it could be a Baldwin Bonkers exploration. I'm too big. I'm afraid to fit down through the hatch. I'll stay up the top at the cafes eating croissants and stuff like that. But don't you worry. If I hear you screaming, I'll phone the police.
Now we have here around the Appalachian Mountains, we have a number of cursed mountain ranges and cursed caves as well. So a lot of these caves were used by moonshiners.
Yeah.
To hide their stuff in and also cook in, but a lot of bad stuff happened in those cave systems around here too. So I should probably do a show on caves.
You should. I think Mike, you could fill the internet up with the amount of stories you can tell. My God,
because I've been to a lot of the cave systems around here, and some of them are absolutely terrifying to go into. There's a howling cave right outside of Knoxville. That near the Great Smokies, and when you go in there, it sounds like when you're by yourself, especially, it sounds like somebody is screaming the entire time you're in there. And apparently somebody went in there, a guy took his best friend in there and stabbed him to death with a screwdriver, and those were his screams that were echoing around inside the cave system. So
there must have been
I had shitty friends.
Oh, all kinds of. When here in the mountains, people have died a million different ways, and it's cursed the land that it happened on because of the horrible ways in which they died. I mean, my great uncle Ray was famous for throwing rocks at people until he killed somebody with a rock. That made him mad. Made him mad. He did it on purpose. He pulled the rock out of his hand and he got him right between the eyes with it. And he died. He died in prison. But he always claimed that he was visited the anniversary of the day that he killed that guy. He was visited by the ghost of that guy on the anniversary every night. That would torment him all night long and wouldn't let him sleep.
Wow. I would love to come and visit you, Mike. Can me and Dakota come and visit you? You know?
Without the need for a Ouija board?
Without the need for a Ouija board, you know? Are you there, Mike? 3 knocks for yes, 2 for no.
I told you the only way I intend on communicating is through farts. So it'll have to be 2 farts for yes, 1 fart for no.
Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat tomorrow night at the Paris catacombs. I can honestly say that.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
We will reschedule a show with Lance, it's a shame, but all his links are below. Please.
Yeah, I love Lance. Lance needs to come back on. Lance was my video was dragging, so I caught him when he started talking about the stuff in that little ditchy pit thing where something was living in there. I heard stories like that when I was in Oklahoma about shit that lived under and around some of the hills there. So,
Chris, did you just see the glowing eyes behind Mike?
Huh?
There was glowing eyes behind Mike.
But one of his cats or something.
No,
cats.
I'm all alone. I'm all alone. Well, I'm never alone. Spiritually, I'm never alone, but I am mortally alone right now.
Yeah.
No cats.
The cat.
The cats are downstairs fucking around right now, tearing up shit. They've been on the tear all day today, so.
Your cats are being crazy too.
They're sensing something. They're sensing a presence with Mike. You know. Ooh.
Yeah, Gozer's been ripping all hell apart. She's been living up to her name that Siamese cat has. So.
You named your cat Gozer.
Yeah, her name is Gozer.
Is that that's Ghost? What do you call it? Ghostbusters.
That's from
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. You should have seen the vets when they found out what her name was. They said her name is Gozer. I said, yeah. And then when I went back to pick her up from the vets, that she had clawed them and bit them all to pieces. And they said, we know why you call her Gozer. She ripped the vet a new asshole. And all of this, she went through 3 different vet techs until they finally got her under control.
You should have walked into the room and went, I am the gatekeeper.
Oh shit! She's.
I am the key master.
She loves me. She bites and kills anybody else around me. But whenever she gets in trouble, she comes running to me and jumps on me to protect her. So.
Oh God.
Oh.
She's Daddy's little Hellcat. So.
Oh my God. Oh.
Sounds like someone I know.
So,
for those of you who don't know, I got my cat right there.
Yeah, Siamese cats are fucked in the head, and she's truly fucked in the head.
Yeah. You've got me looking behind Mike. I'm trying to know the different positions to see any glowing eyes.
You want to get Mike in a position? Got it. Wow.
It's some that's want to go into the Paris catacombs and have a good time, But you can take them.
Last time I had a good time in Paris, she contacted me about 3 months later saying she may be pregnant.
Oh well.
I was very careful about my procreation habits back in the day, so.
It was a false alarm, but yeah.
very careful.
At least she was a good-looking woman, so I had that comfort.
We don't want too many Mike the Naked Bigfoot's little ones running about out there.
Oh, God, no. Having 2 is bad enough.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that there might be out there, Mike, throughout the land of the United States, there might be hundreds of little Mikes?
Well, remember, we were speculating that because our friend AJ and Mike look an awful lot alike.
I noticed that.
I know.
I've been told in several states that they've seen me in other places, and I'm like, no. Number 1, we've never met. Number 2, I've never been to these other locations. So, I'm having a doppelganger thing happening, which is a possibility, supernaturally speaking, or there's some kind of weird bilocation thing going on. So, I don't know.
That's up.
Either that or it's part of a government experiment where they cloned me, and they've got me planted all over the country.
Oh, I feel sorry for whoever had to carry my clones.
Oh my God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. We will reschedule the show soon. Please check out the links below. And check out Mike's links too, because his channel's awesome. She does amazing videos, especially stone faces.
Let's get Mike some more views before he tries to take down his channel.
Aye, he's not going to.
I got at least 2 more shows coming up, so at least 2 more.
Mike, I want to see the future in 1,000 years from now that somebody will find this tablet like a computer core. And you will appear on it, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, who is that?"
Last moments of the apocalypse, and the last thing they're watching is Mike. Well, time well wasted.
And if you want to check out a video for Mike's, ladies and gentlemen, in the podcast world in the future, if you want to check out a video of Mike's, I recommend Sex and the Paranormal.
Sex and the Paranormal.
It's very, very interesting, ladies and gentlemen.
And you get ticked off every time I talk about starting to sell sex toys in the fucking store.
You're into that kind of stuff, aren't you? Like big giant Bigfoot, inflatable Bigfoots and stuff like that.
They do make
Dogman doggy style.
One of my friends says they do make Bigfoot sex dolls. So she actually sent me pictures of it. I was in a chat room. I was during an interview session, and she's a former sex worker, and she has an amazing podcast. And I was talking with her, and I was talking with her on her podcast, and she said, "No, they really do make cryptid sex toys." And I said,
I was about to say, I know a girl who keeps fantasizing about having sex with a fucking Mothman.
Well, there you go.
I didn't believe her till she started sending me pictures of it, and I went, "I will never doubt you again." I had to publicly apologize on her podcast and say, "I will never doubt you again. These things do exist."
What's the name of her podcast so we can get her on here?
Oh my God.
What's her name?
All she is going to, I mean, she was a former y'all probably have seen her on Twitter, but her handle is Pixie.
Oh.
Yeah. Pixie's really, really smart and amazing. Super supportive to a lot of people with her podcast. But again, she was a former stripper, and she is the coolest human being you ever wanted to talk to. And she was so much fun, and me and her together, we just let it rip one day on her show. We just let it rip, and that was the bluest I have ever been on anybody's podcast. Wow. And it was just filthy for at least an hour and a half, and it was so much fun.
Wow. I need to go and listen to that. I need to go and find that.
She's one of the best people out there when it comes to, if you ever need advice on doing a podcast or doing anything. The woman she's just absolutely amazing, and again, super supportive, very empowering, gives advice to so many great people out there to help them become great. And I always enjoy talking with her because she's super funny and, again, incredibly smart.
Do you know something?
She doesn't mind my filthy mouth either.
We need to arrange a special show. We need a special show.
Dude, that's gonna have to be rated. That's gonna have to be rated R very easy. No, she can talk non-blue.
You have to be 50 and over.
No, she can talk. She can talk non-blue, but it's more fun when you can talk with all barriers down. She passes no judgment.
Well, you know.
Ladies, some of the strippers I knew were pretty cool people. So, all right.
So
she's amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've learned to learn two things tonight. Mike knows a stripper, and so does Dakota.
I know like 20, so.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a bouncer. Always wanted to be, but anyway.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, remember, pop in for tomorrow night as we're talking about the Paris catacombs.
Be a lot of fun.
And Mike's going an expedition down into the darkness below. You know,
we got to live with Mike like an honorary member of all the Bonkers. He's on our show so much.
Do you know? Look at this. Look at this. Right, this is a picture. Right, the catacombs. Somebody gets stuck in the catacombs. Right, Mike. This has got to be Dakota.
Just like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, bother.
Just like Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, seriously, can you imagine doing a pipe like that and then not getting back out again? Can you imagine how terrifying that would be?
Dude, I would get so claustrophobic that I would chew my arms off to get out of there. That just...
Oh, God. Right,
I can handle a lot of things. I can't handle claustrophobia.
Yeah. Can you imagine if there's something dark and looking at you with its glowing eyes at the other end?
Or eating your ass out or something. I mean, that's bad.
Well, it depends on if you're into that, but right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you all later, and we'll play the Bald and Bunker credits now. So,
I know.
Yeah, let's roll out the credits before we get too down.
I'll talk to you next time.
So what? The glory hole. Well, hey, why is it not playing? Chris, you're supposed to be handling this, so I don't have to finger myself.
Take it away and I'll do it. God's sake. There you go.